I made two of these outfeed support rollers for my table saw and the jointer, and these function as an accessory for my sawhorses. And this gives them a number of advantages, mainly that they don't take up that much space, but also that they can not only be adjusted vertically, but also horizontally, which is important to me because the floor of this workshop is very uneven, but I still want to be able to adjust them into one plane with the tables of my machines. So all these really are is a piece of very strong PVC pipe suspended in a plywood frame. Now I tried the version with the casters on top, but I found that narrow workpieces would always slip between the casters, and also the cost of these casters tends to really add up. So I think one big roller is the way to go. I made the end caps out of Baltic birch plywood because they will have to take up all the tilting forces when load is applied to the axles. So I made them out of decent material. I used a fly cutter at the drill press, but I think it goes without saying that there are other ways of cutting a disc. For the outer sleeve of the roller, I used a piece of PVC pipe with a decent wall thickness. And the end caps ended up fitting snugly into the pipe. To keep the end caps in place, I just drove in 4 tiny screws. Sanding PVC often leaves these unsightly burrs, and I scraped those off using the X-Acto knife. I made the frame from this very coarse spruce plywood. It is cheap and strong, and I had a bunch of offcuts lying around. The only downside is that it splinters like crazy. Not so much when it's sawn, but more when it's sanded. This is gonna be the horizontal beam. I suppose I could have made it out of 3 layers and just leave out the space for the vertical brackets to form a mortise, but I prefer to cut the mortise at the table saw. Now, when making cuts like these at the table saw, it without a doubt helps a lot to have a little bit of control over one's appendages. And now making the vertical brackets that are gonna be the matching tenons for the mortises. And finally the bearings for the roller. I glued on the first one, then gave it 5 minutes to bind, and then glued on the second one. This way I didn't have to cope with clamping up two thingies that are sliding all over the place at the same time. I like to put glue into the holes and onto the dowels. Theoretically, the glue should rise in the flutes on the surface of the dowel and create a sufficient bond, but I'd rather not count on that. And now for the finish. Remember when I said that this stuff splinters like crazy? So what I do is I apply a heavy coat of finish and let it absorb into the surface to seal in all the splintering. And then I sand the piece for a smooth surface and apply a second coat. Applying a finish is often the most time-consuming part of a project. So if I had to do this quick, I'd just leave it unfinished. So here are all of our parts: the roller, the frame, and a couple of pieces of steel shaft, and 2 washers. And epoxy. Some people think that their stuff is in danger of sliding off of the support. Not a feature that I'll ever use, but maybe nice to have. And here you can see the supports in action. They work great. So there we have them. Outfit rollers. Thanks for watching. Bye.